Hello again, Tone Deaf Monk. I got a bit of a surprise. It was a surprise to me. Somebody on one of the forums just kind of said, hey, I've spotted this IAM. It looks like a offshoot or something that AudioSense put out, and I haven't seen a review. So they just happened to have it on sale. It was like 212 Canadian on sale for $65. So I bought it. That's like 50 bucks US. And it is an interesting one. Definitely has AudioSense DNA in it. And I think AudioSense bought this, and I'm not sure the tuning. Who's tuning it? Is it AudioSense or is it TINGKER? And I was all about to... I had a cute nickname. I was going to call it the Stinker, but I can't. It's actually quite good. So let's talk about this. So it's a TINGKER Acoustics. And if you look it up, it says AudioSense, and AudioSense is actually the guy selling it on their store. And you can tell there's DNA there because if you've ever bought an AudioSense IM with the little Sherpa-lined cases, right? I mean, if I was an IM, I would want to live in there. I will show you the IMs first. Here's the stock cable, and it's a decent, nice, pure copper cable. Thusly important. In 3.5, so there was no option for 4.4. So I stuck it on a TRN one with QDC that came with the Bax Pro. And that's what I stuck it on, just to show you here. Again, pure copper. Now, I'll show you these little guys, and they're little. So this is a three balanced armature IM. On the top, there is kind of like a honeycomb black resin shell on the top. Sorry, resin top. And there's 3 screws holding the top down to a CNC machined aluminum shell that is really, really small and extremely nicely shaped. So you've heard me talk about nozzle angle and design. Well, the nozzle angle is very well shaped to go into your ears. Here I'm using Divinus velvet tips, and I really liked how they worked on this IM as well. It was like the perfect combination for me. So real small, real light, gorgeous little shell. Fits, well, I will show you fitment as well. Which is my left, which is my right? Bloody hell. Again, at least they have a giant, right, left and right written on them. Thank you very much. Pretty teeny, and the nozzle angle is good so that when you get it in, it goes up and into your ear, and that's probably why you get such good acoustical properties with this little bad boy. Now, what else comes with it? Good selection of tips. There's nothing to complain about in the packaging. Kind of minimalistic. That's the way I kind of like it. In that little box that comes with the case, it comes with the cable and the IMs, and you're good to go. I want to talk about one more thing that's kind of important too. The other thing that really had me concerned was pressure buildup, and I suffer from that greatly. So if there's no vent or some way that they have done the venting, I get pressure buildup. And I don't know what they did here, and I'll have a picture. I'm going to put up a picture here. There's some kind of 3D acoustic printed sound channeling thing inside of this thing that is funneling all the sound. And whatever they are doing, works. I don't get any pressure buildup at all, and it's the weirdest thing that I was pretty much guaranteed that I thought I was going to do, and I was going to call this the stinker, but it didn't happen. Now, let's talk some sound impressions. So I will pull up a graph here. Where did I put my notes? Sorry. So at first, the graph for me looked a little scary because I'm again that little bit treble sensitive, and I was a little scared when I saw this one. And here's the weird thing. Oh, on the back, no, the website. The reason I bought this, like a blind buy, was because the graph showed this big sub-bass shelf and transitioned nicely into upper mids and trebles. Yes, there's some peaks in there, but it wasn't too scary. And just looking at it, I thought I could, it was sort of safe. Now, I will pull up this graph too, and it honestly doesn't sound like the graph. And it doesn't, my graph didn't look like the factory graph. It shows a whole lot less sub bass. In fact, the sub bass is rolled off in from the 711 coupler. But that's not how it sounds. So we'll talk about that. And these are one of these IMs that would be really, really hard for somebody to look at this graph and go and to tell you how it sounds. That's you can't do that. Some give you a good idea, but not in this case. So if you're a measurabator, you're not going to get this one. So most of what I'm about to tell you is done with the stock tunings, and but I will tell you that I put a 400 level nozzle filter, and it changed this entire IM completely. So here we go. How about we just call it the H6? Okay. So how did it sound? Well, the bass is more weighted than I was expecting as well. It's impactful like BA bass is, and the BA speedy bass. And as a mid-bass lover, I love that. I love the slam and the impact. But it is still missing the dynamic driver richness and subharmonics you get. Like when it hits a bass note, hits a drum, and you can hear it carries on a little bit longer instead of snapping back right away. So it's not as speedy. And I think a dynamic driver brings that to the table more than a balanced armature in most cases. But as a mid-bass lover, I'm not complaining with this set. Mids on stock, they do sound forward and a touch thin. When I put the 400 level nozzle filter on, everything changed completely. Like I said, it went from mid forward and thin and airy to neutral, and with maybe even a slutch. Slutch? That's not a word. It's not. It doesn't even sound like a good word. Maybe even a touch warm. Do not quote me on that word. Please. Get me in trouble. A slutch. Anyway, with the 400 nozzle filter as well, go back again. The highs are really one of the standout features of this set. How detailed, how airy, and extended they really go. The tuning is quite well done, I must admit. And it's a different tuning than what I normally would go for. And that's why I just threw it out there and took a chance. I mean, it was a decent price. I love finding hidden gems. I honestly do. And this is one of them. And no one's talked about it or seen it or heard from it. So there you go. Exclusive. It still keeps its airy signature when I put that 400 level nozzle filter on. I was concerned that it was going to kill it, the specialness, but it didn't. It basically just brought the mids back to a little bit more neutral, and it still has great extension. So The other, I wouldn't have never bought an all BA set. Never. I don't know. I had some kind of bias against BA sets until I heard Bennett's T2 from High Senior, and it's like, wow, that's pretty impressive. And then we got the T4. Bennett got the T4, and I loved that for BAs so much that I bought a custom. My first one. This IM has tons of mid bass. Before I burned it in, it had bloat to it. Like there was too much bleeding into the vocals, and it was making male and female vocals a bit bloated. Then I put it, 4 or 5 days on the rack, and it came out quite smooth. So I do encourage you to don't judge it right off the bat. Throw it on, burn it in a little bit. It will change a bit. It smooths out, I think. Well, no, it did. Absolutely. Now, whilst the mids, again, stock, definitely mid forward in the mix, it doesn't sound shouty, though, or forced. It just nicely mid forward, which is, again, why this tuning is a bit different, and I kind of like it for something different. All the instrumental, like piano, strings, sound good. The added mid bass, again, adds weight to stuff like piano and drums, and it is colored, like with this stock tuning. Again, adding some bloat into the male vocals, female to a lesser degree. I'm not adverse to actually throwing in some extra mid bass and coloring it a little bit. I actually don't mind that at all, as long as it doesn't mess up vocals too much. And again, when I put the nozzle filter on it, that radically changed as well, and I didn't get any of the bloat at all. But with the stock tuning, that added mid bass did help balance out a bit with the 3K and the 5K bump that you'll see later on in the graph. Kind of tuned it down a bit. The treble, again, I'll tell you, it really has nice extension, really out there past 10K, and it doesn't drop off too much. So again, the tuning is really good, and what they did here is pretty fun. It adds a good measure of air and details where guitar and strings just really pop out. And it's a bit refreshing, again, from the darker tunings of late that I've been listening to. Better for lower and mid volumes, I found too. As you turn them up, vocals become even more forward. And again, this was a note from stock tuning with the nozzle filter. You can disregard that statement. Crank it. Because for me, again, being a little treble sensitive with the extra energy up top, if you dial it up, it got spicy and vocal forward for me. With it knocked down quite a bit, it didn't do that at all. The stage, though, I tell you, it is big and it's open, and instrument placements are great. Macro, micro details are great. It is average for width and depth and height. It does kind of stay, relatively not too much depth wise, but the width was outstanding. And when I say average, it's not a knock against this. It's just all IMs. There is very, very few that actually have, what that I perceive as standout 3D stage. This isn't one of them. Some track impressions, first of all, because I think that's a really good way of kind of letting you know how I heard the set, right? Green Day's American Idiot, played by Vitamin Strike Quartet. So, yes, it's a rock song played with strings. Because I think also this set plays heavily into that kind of tuning. I listened to it with some rap and reggae, and I didn't like it. So bass heavy genres, probably this is not the IM. And if that's what you listen to primarily, this is not the IM for you. Now, the strings were lovely in that track. Instrument, the details were fantastic. Tone and timbre, again, top notch. I really like the energy, and I will pull up a graph and talk about that after these, just to give you why that sounds the way it did for me. And then I tried it with 44876 with Shaggy Sting, and I sounded like the BAs were fluttering out, were banging out. I didn't hear it on a bunch of tracks like that. It just maybe this one, but I haven't heard that before, and it doesn't sound like a dynamic driver. Dynamic driver just hits with more rumble, with more authority, where BA bass doesn't do that. A couple more track impressions. Between Two Lungs, Florence and the Machine. So female vocals again. I really what stood out for me was the highs, the female vocals, the big open stage. But the BA bass is still very authoritative in this track, and surprisingly, that's kind of one of the things that shocked me about this 3BA IM. Pancake by Yong San Na. If you're not familiar with her, she is an amazing vocalist. What electrified me in this track was the electric guitar, and the drums and the snares sound absolutely amazing. Again, that's that extra high-end energy that you don't get in a warmer, darker IM, and it really brings those to life. It brings them a bit more forward, and it adds more excitement, and that's kind of where the perception of macro micro details also played a big part, where you got from the low notes to the high end notes, and from the quiet passages to it getting louder within the track and the overall song. It did a good job in dynamics. Wrecked by Imagine Dragons, again, energetic, vocal forward with stock, neutral with the filter, but it does still, even stock, it didn't sound too much upper treble mid forward, because the bass manages to keep up. So again, even in its stock format, it was enjoyable, but I enjoyed it more with the simple mesh nozzle filter. My hometown, Bruce Springsteen. Bruce's vocal sounds husky. Even the stock, and again, better on the knockdown a bit. That extra mid-bass energy in this case really comes into play. A little bit of a duet now. Time to Say Goodbye, Andrea Bocelli, Ana Martinez. I love duets because you get it to hear the male and the female vocals. Is one going to be too overemphasized, underemphasized, too husky, too airy, too thin? And it did both very, very well. And in this track, also, I noticed excellent micro dynamics. So it was pretty good. Wrecking Ball, Miley Cyrus. And this was a it's called Wrecking Ball with X, Nothing Compares to You, live track. Great stage, air, bass. I mean, it had it all. It was a very fun track to listen to on this, and as a 3BA item, it kind of stood out and went and take notice. It was like, you know what, that's pretty damn fun replay. I'm enjoying that. With the mod, for me, because again, I like it maybe a little bit warmer more than neutral. It made the vocals do that perfectly. So in the mix, vocals didn't become mid-forward. They were back into the mix where the bass and the treble then could fully keep up between the two. Overall, my $68 Canadian was money very well spent. From the overall package, I really liked some of the things I really thought stood out was the small shell, the lightweight, build quality, fit finish, the way the nozzle was angled up so I could get a proper seal and direction in there. That was standout. The bass response was shockingly authoritative, but I loved the extension and the air. And again, it's a bit different tuning. I would totally keep this set as in a daily rotation, just when I wanted a taste of something different. So, in conclusion, really, who is this set for? Who would like this set? I think someone who maybe you don't have an all BA set and you want to jump into that foray, and you've got a single dynamic driver or a bunch of them, and you kind of want to jump in. Well, I think this would be a great set to do so. I mean, it's not going to find it on sale. They always go on sale, and you'll find it around $50 US. Then it's not going to break the bank too much. If you wanted to step up from a single dynamic, and you wanted something that could project more micro details and nuances and strings that you could really pick up on, this would be a good set for you. Classical lovers, absolutely. I think this would be a wonderful. Not only does it have the air and details in the top end for violin and stuff, but in cello and stuff, it has enough low end energy to produce those correctly as well. So overall, I think it was a hell of a great find. Very, very proud of myself for sticking it all out there and the risking this set. Not that it was $3,000, but you get my point, right? So yeah, a hidden gem, TINKKER H6 by AudioSense, 3BA, and away you go.